I will now begin the second lecture on food labeling and advertising regulations in South Korea. I am Dr. Danny Jun, the CEO of FSIRI, Food Science Information Research Institute. Our institute specializes in providing lectures, consulting, and OTT services related to food. In the first lecture, we learned about overview of food labeling and advertising, Obligated Business Operator for labeling, and the general labeling method. In this second lecture, we will delve into the product name labeling method. Specifically, we will study labeling of reported or declared name to regulatory authority, and using the raw material name as the product name. This is about labeling of reported or declared name to regulatory authority. The product name must be labeled as the name reported or declared to the regulatory authority, and it should not be labeled with a different name from the one reported. However, if the product name is clearly indicated on the main display and information display of the product for the purpose of differentiation or identification, it is acceptable to add additional descriptors such as 1A, for convenience in distinguishing it from the product name, as long as it does not conflict with the original reported name. This is about using the raw material name as the product name. When using the generic term, vegetable, as part of the product name, all corresponding vegetable names and their quantities should be indicated on the main display with a font size of at least 14 points or larger. If a product is made using vegetables like cabbage, bamboo shoots, and onion, and it delivers the vegetable taste that consumers typically expect, it is permissible to use vegetable flavor as part of the product name, rather than specifying cabbage flavor, bamboo shoot flavor, or onion flavor. However, in this case, the individual vegetable names and their quantities must still be indicated on the main display panel, with a font size of at least 14 points. If a certain food or food additive is not directly used, but is naturally formed during the manufacturing process of the product, it is permissible to label the product name with the food or food additive term. In this case, it is not necessary to indicate the amount of the naturally formed food or food additive. When using only synthetic flavoring substances to create a flavor, and you intend to use taste or flavor as part of the product name, you must include a label around the product name with the term synthetic included, such as contains synthetic XX flavor. The font size should be equal to or larger than the product name. When including ingredients as part of the product name, it is necessary to indicate the names and quantities of those ingredients. However, when indicating tastes like sweetness or sourness as part of the product name, it is not necessary to display the ingredient names and quantities. If a compound seasoning is used to achieve a barbecue flavor and it aligns with the barbecue taste that consumers typically expect, it is permissible to use barbecue flavor as part of the product name. Additionally, if the term used in the product name is a dish name, there might be no need to indicate ingredient names and quantities on the main display panel. When using the product category name or dish name as the product name or part of the product name, it may not be necessary to display the quantity of the mentioned category name or dish name. If the product name is abalone porridge, where porridge indicates a dish name while abalone is an ingredient, it is necessary to display the ingredient name and its quantity for abalone on the main display panel using a font size of at least 14 points. This is examples of using the product category name and examples of using the dish name. If you intend to indicate the content of extracts or concentrates used in a product, you must also display the percentage of solid content contained in those extracts or concentrates. However, in this case, it is not allowed to express the solid content as, or more, or less, excessive, or insufficient. Instead, you must indicate the precise percentage of solid content. Since obtaining exact content values can be challenging, food labeling and advertising regulations generally allow for a certain margin of error. Please note that if it's difficult to measure the exact solid content, you can also consider indicating the blending ratio at the time of manufacturing. If the content of the extract or concentrate used in the product is not indicated, there is no need to display the content of the solid portion contained in that extract or concentrate. For pork cutlet with pork loin, as you have used the meat name and cut name in the product name, the ingredient name and content displayed in the primary display panel should be labeled as pork 50%, loin 30%, foreleg 20%. When using the meat name or cut name as the product name, the following must be displayed in the primary display panel. The most prominently used meat name or cut name must be included in the product name. In this case, all meat names or cut names used in the product and their respective quantities must be displayed. If two or more meat names or cut names are combined in the product name or a part of it, the quantities of each meat name or cut name must be indicated in the order of most used. In the case of processed meat products, including extracted meat products, where the product name includes the names of specific meats, all types or parts of the meat used and their respective quantities must be indicated on the main label. When using chicken breast and chicken leg as ingredients and using the term chicken meat in the product name, it is required to indicate the content as chicken meat XX%, and then you need to add in parentheses chicken breast XX% and chicken leg XX%. If the food type of the product is processed meat extract, then all types and quantities of the meat used in the product must be indicated. Therefore, the quantity of bones used must be explicitly displayed. If the ingredient name is displayed on the main label as part of a phrase like, with a tangy flavor of lemon, it is required to present the name of the ingredient and its quantity in a font size of 12 points on the main label. However, if an image of the ingredient is displayed on the main label, it is not subject to the aforementioned regulation. I will return to the third lecture. In the next lecture, we will learn about method of ingredient labeling. Thank you for listening. Please don't forget to subscribe and like.